Welcome to everybody. We're getting started a few minutes late. I was going over some things. It's my fault that we're starting late. We will not do this on a regular basis. This is not a regular meeting, it's a workshop, and then be followed by a special call meeting after we complete the workshop. We will continue to have workshops, and I would anticipate that we will have many more items to discuss in workshops than we have in this one today. We're just getting into what I really feel like we should be doing, and I don't think we're there yet, not a long shot. If you've got concerns or you've got items that you want discussed in a workshop or possibly in a regular meeting and possibly not, you can certainly talk to us about it. Please contact any of the commissioners or me. I'm here almost every day. Usually get here between 8:15 and 8:30, and it's not etched in wood or anything, or iron or steel or anything else. I have other responsibilities besides sitting in the office in this courthouse. I'm trying to go and look at all of the roads, and I think it's incumbent on every commissioner to do the same thing. Each commissioner is elected from a particular part of the county, but that doesn't mean that's what they're responsible for. Each commissioner and I are responsible for the roads and for the administration of the government of the county over the whole county, not just a part of it. I will never, of course, try to say that that's not my part of the county. And if any of the commissioners do, tell them that while you only get votes from a particular section, you're responsible for the use of the money and the items that need to be done and the employees that work for the county, of the whole county, not just a particular part of it. I don't think any of them think that, but if they get that idea, please talk to them about it and come talk to me about it. I can't deal with problems that I'm not aware of. If you've got a problem, talk to a commissioner, talk to me. We're available one way or another, somewhere, every day. Some of us are. If you come up and start making speeches to the public here, I'm going to stop it. I'm not going to allow that. This isn't a speech-making place. Mostly, when we have business meetings, it will be the Commissioners Court participating and not public participating unless the Commissioners Court wants particular people in the public to be a part of the participation of that particular item. I don't think we have any obligation that we have to allow anybody to speak at a particular time. If I'm wrong, well, I'll certainly talk about it, and we'll see what we can do and what we can't do. It's really important, I think, that we take care of the business of the county, and we do it in a regular way, and that we do it in a way that keeps everybody informed of what we're doing. With all of that said, which is mostly BS, excuse me, I'm a 50-year lawyer, I forget that I should not be talking BS sometimes to some folks. But anyway, I call the meeting to order. If you'll stand, we'll have the opening prayer to be followed by the pledge of allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the very good things that have been given to the people of Karnes County, the citizens of Karnes County. It is not the same all of the time, but all of the time we all enjoy the various benefits that are available. We would ask that you help us and aid us in our walk through life and our walk through our part of dealing with the problems of Karnes County. Be with us every time. Help us make good decisions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. This part of the meeting is a workshop meeting. We only have one item in the workshop that we're going to deal with, and it's item 5. If you have a copy of the workshop special call meeting, discuss to execute Texas Historical Commission grant of easement, including exhibits A, B, and C for the Karnes County Courthouse roof restoration phase 1B project, THCPP round 8 grant. Exhibits A and D have been prepared by Lewis Fisher, and Exhibit C has been prepared by Lorraine M. Daly. Discuss to execute Texas Historical Commission funding agreement for the Karnes County Courthouse roof restoration phase 1B of the project, for instance, THCPP round 8 grant, close parenthesis, period. That's the item of the workshop that we're going to deal with, and I'll ask the architect if she will kind of give us a short form, perhaps, if you can. I've got the things that need to be executed up here for the commissioners to execute. So, Ray, if you'll give us a clue of what we're going to execute and what's going on.
Testing.
No, that one works, doesn't it? If you turn it on, it helps if you. If it doesn't work.
Hold for 2 seconds. It says testing. Okay.
That one worked when you just said testing.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Sounded
Hello?
like
Okay. Okay, so we are here to execute, hopefully have the Karnes County Commissioners Court execute the documents that are required in order to receive the grant funding from Texas Historical Commission. There are 2 documents that need to be executed. One is an easement document and the other one is an agreement to funding. These essentially are the same 2 documents that have been executed for phase 1, which is your west side restoration, and phase 1A, which was the foundation stabilization and repairs. The only difference is on the easement, THC changed the requirements and required these exhibits A, B, and C to be executed with the easement. And those were prepared by Mr. Lewis Fisher and myself in accordance with instructions provided by the Texas Historical Commission.
that it.
That's it as far
You
as
think we're all up to stuff now on what we're
as far
doing?
as on the architect side, yes, sir. I think that Mr. Jeff Chapman, these are legal documents that were provided by Texas Historical Commission for the required easement and the required funding. And as an architect, I don't feel qualified to discuss the legal ramifications of them. I talked to Herb Hancock and asked him if he and Jeff could present on the legal ramifications of what the county is signing. They are essentially the same documents, as I stated, that have already been signed for the first 2 rounds, with the exception of the modification of the easement requiring these exhibits A, B, and C, which describe your courthouse, the historical features of your courthouse, and what is going to be done in the funding. And I can talk more on exhibits A, B, and C if you want me to after
Well,
Mr. Chapman.
we'll hear from both of them and get back
Okay.
to you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Herb, if, in the order of things, if you'll come up and just, or you can talk from back there, I don't care where you talk from.
Judge, I don't have anything. Jeff is here to answer any questions. I asked him to look at the documents. They're basically the same as we've had in the past, but I think Jeff should address most of it. And I'll
Yeah,
use that.
drop this on me.
I've looked at the documents. Herb asked me to do so. I've read through them. I can answer any questions you have, and of course I wasn't privy to or part of the discussions with the first two grants from the Historical Commission, but I've looked at this one, and it's a fairly standard, simple, and easy to understand document. Essentially, you are agreeing to be a partner with the Historical Commission in renovating this particular portion of the courthouse. You're going to do it in accordance to and with conformity with the standards that the Historical Commission approves and puts forward. It limits the county's right to make future changes or alterations to the courthouse, which would be in contravention to the approved plans and standards that the Historical Commission is trying to preserve, which, from reading these documents, as best I can tell, is as close to a return to the original construction and original finishes that the courthouse had, giving, of course, consideration to modern building codes, practices, and amenities. In return for getting a grant of $450,000 for this portion of the roof restoration project, you're granting the Historical Commission an easement in perpetuity for the essentially the preservation and protection of the courthouse. So while the county still owns the courthouse, it's still county property, you're binding yourself to be a partner with the Historical Commission into perpetuity for the protection and preservation of the courthouse itself. The easement language doesn't have anything in there that causes me significant concern. With respect to the funding agreement, the things that I've noticed from a construction standpoint, from a contract standpoint, as far as the work you're going to have on the courthouse, it definitely requires the county to be a partner with the commission in getting the work done. You have to engage the commission at certain times during the course of the project, obviously with the advance approval of the plans and specifications, but also keeping them informed of the schedule. It makes the county responsible for any particular elements of the funding and also for any overages that might arise in addition to or in excess of the $450,000. And it requires the county to kind of police the project very carefully as far as the cost and the schedule, because there is language in the funding agreement which binds the county to the schedule and allows the commission to review and approve any extensions to the schedule. So it will require oversight and active participation and communication with the commission in getting the work done. Other than that, there's nothing in the agreement which causes me significant concern, and I'm not sure that causes any concern. It's just something that we need to be aware of as we proceed with the project, because it could ultimately affect the funding, and we don't want that to happen.
I'm a latecomer to the court. What funding do we have that's solid and we're going to get it, and maybe some of the court might know that? I'm not clear personally.
According to these documents, the county's going to get $450,000 from the commission as part of this funding agreement, or this easement, to redo the roof.
And is there a schedule of how that's to happen in the agreement, I assume, of some kind?
Well, I don't know what the schedule is as far as when the funds will be given to the county, but it appears that the county gets a block grant and then uses those funds to pay the pay applications that the contractors will send you as the work progresses. You don't have to send monthly payouts to the county to get a check, to the commission to get a check from the commission. It's a block grant that you can use.
And is this block grant, the money paid to us as it says in one block?
It appears to, yes.
And we'll,
I don't know. I know this is the third grant the county's applied for, and I wasn't part of the first two,
Okay.
as you were not either.
Right.
Lorraine was. She can probably answer that question as far as how the money, how the money gets to the county. But it appears that you get one check and then you have it in an account to use it.
all right.
It's on a reimbursement basis. We have to submit copies of the invoices paid, copies of the checks paid, and then they reimburse us.
Oh, you do?
How often do you have to submit it?
There is no time requirement. You can submit them monthly, quarterly, one time, whatever.
Is there no time frame that requires the contractor to submit requests for payments within a certain
Well,
period of time?
that'll be part of your construction documents with respect to the contractor. There's no time frame in this grant agreement that says it.
Yeah.
It just simply says the amount of the grant is $450,000 and paid to the county in accordance with the procedure described in Article 7. Article 7 says that the county is reimbursed for costs and expenses. It doesn't have in it any, that I see, any time frame as far as when you're required. So,
I saw the architect nodding her head at some point in there to something I said, and I'm not sure I said anything that required it, that I even thought it needed one, but tell us generally what you do in connection with this and what we're going to be expected to do. I'm not clearly, well, I know I don't understand, and I want to understand when we get through this workshop. I want everybody to understand.
Well, once you select your contractor and enter into a contract with that contractor, that will outline the reimbursement requirement, monthly pay applications that you mentioned. What happens is, and related to THC being involved, they come down monthly and they attend our monthly construction meetings on a monthly basis. They review all of the shop drawings and they are involved throughout the project. Anything that is done on the project, essentially THC is copied in the correspondence related to schedule, related to construction costs, and related to any decisions that are made. The documents have already been approved by THC, and any modifications to those documents would go through THC. Regarding the reimbursements, Luana's office handles that, but essentially what happens is we submit our invoices and the contractor submits their invoices on a monthly basis, and Luana gets a copy of those, and then she processes with THC for reimbursement of those through her office.
Who do those go to? Do they go to Luana, they come to the court, or who?
They come to both. A copy goes to the Commissioner's Court, Judge's office, and then we send a copy to Luana's office.
And what we do in the past, Lorraine, as our liaison for the project, always approves the contractor's bills before we even submit them to Commissioner's Court for payment.
Okay, so it would go to you and it would be approved. Would you have it approved, or would they approve it? Do they know that it's going to you?
Yes, all accounts payable come to the auditor's office, and they are,
They should.
yes.
I'm
And
not
like I
sure we know
said,
they all do, but they should.
Lorraine issues authorization for payment on anything that's submitted because she's tracking it as the contractor and as the county's liaison. When they come to us, they're processed just like normal accounts payables are, and then they are presented to the Commissioner's Court at the next court meeting for payment with the regular bill cycle.
You will submit them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't always understand all this high money stuff. Is there anything else from your standpoint that we need to know and understand as part of this?
No, sir.
Just stay out of the way, that's kind of what you're saying.
Just if Lorraine approves something and I submit it, go ahead and authorize
But
payment.
we have to authorize the expenditure, I think,
Yes.
whatever it is, whatever it's for.
Correct.
Court questions?
Also, being the young, first-time individual in here, does this require a match from the county? It does, okay.
Yes, sir. It was a 50-50 grant. The project budget for the roof project was $1.1 million. The THC agreed to provide up to $450,000. And we did receive proposals, and the base proposal came in under the proposed budget. There's 2 alternates that are related to the roof, that it would be better to do with the roof, and those, I have it in my folder if you want me to present that, but they come out to a little over the 1.1 million, so it's up to the court on what they want to spend, in addition to the $450,000 that is matched.
Okay, in addition to that, I'm assuming this has been budgeted already, money set aside.
Jeff, how long, you said that this easement that we have that we're doing today, does it override the previous easement that was signed by the court years ago, or?
Well, I haven't seen those easements, but this easement grants the commission an easement for the preservation of the courthouse into perpetuity. I presume it's the same as what was done previously, but I haven't seen them. This one is a historical protection and preservation easement that goes forever.
I read somewhere in here, I can't remember that, if it would fall down, we would still be responsible for doing the whole building.
Well, the easement does have in it, and the documents you're looking at today do have insurance requirements in case of a casualty loss. The county has to insure the building either through the insurance provider or through self-insurance. And yes, you're responsible for protecting and preserving the building and restoring it if there is a loss.
So perpetuity means it's life?
It means forever.
Forever.
More than life, it means forever.
That's what I want to make sure.
Longer than any of us will be around.
Yeah, because on Saturday morning, I think Pete and I both were at the Historical Commission, and they were talking about, the state of Texas provided funding for these courthouses. They want to make sure, as courts change, the deal for the people was just to make sure that the monies that were spent were still being honored. So.
Right. Well, it's also that the work that's done with the state money gets preserved and protected. And that's the courthouse renovation project, as I understand it, and I've been involved in one in Amarillo as well. The commission, the goal is to grant money to allow counties to restore their historic courthouses, and then as commissions and county judges change, as time goes by, once that work is done, it's not to be altered or changed, it's to be preserved and protected. What happened with this courthouse, for example, 30 years or so after it was built, there was a renovation that drastically modified the appearance of the courthouse, both exterior and interior, and the commission is desiring to get the courthouses as built back to their original aesthetic appearance as much as possible, and they want that to go forever, which is why the easements are granted. You can grant a shorter term easement. The application for this easement, which Lorraine showed me, selected perpetuity. I believe from reading that application, you get additional credit from the commission for granting a longer easement. You might get additional funding. I'm not exactly sure how they determine how much they give.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've reviewed this quite a bit, and I want to make a few comments about it. The one thing, there is a point system on future grants, and there's 50 areas that gives you more points. Report what he said. Okay, there's 2 parts to this: funding agreement and easement. The funding agreement, Article 301 says county is obligated to remain in effect. It says 20 years following the disbursement of the last funds in payment for the project. But further on it says 50 years, and further on it says perpetuity. Article 4, it is the matching program, THC program, and this grant will give us $450,000. It's going to cost us approximately $765,000 or $800,000 in total. Only county has responsibilities. They pay for all architectural and professional fees in addition to that. County is to maintain and repair for 20 years, but it's in perpetuity, so that doesn't mean much. Environmental, we've done all the environmental and former contract on this and gotten that done whatever we could. So there should be no more environmental costs. The county may not lease or rent this property. It's for the county's private use only. You can't rent any offices out in there to lawyers, anybody else. It'd be just for county use. And Article 612 says there's no guarantee of future funds. So after this, we may not get any more grants for it. I think that's important for us to remember. Then on the easement part, I made a note on number 6 in there, grantee, which is THC, and we're the grantor. Basically, we're giving them all the rights. We don't have much to say. We have to do what they say after we sign this easement. We won't get money from them. We do what they tell us. And then number 7 is the one where it says it's a 50-year easement. And number 8, Karnes County has the right to use the property. Number 10, Karnes County must keep it insured. And it says in that one that the grantee, which is THC, must be named as an additional insurer. So when we get insurance on it, if anything happens to it, before we get any insurance money for any damages, THC will have to approve that we get the money. And we have to assure them that we're going to repair it back to their standards. So, and then number 6, Karnes County releases THC of any liability. And then number 15 says the easement shall remain in effect in perpetuity. That means forever. I have one comment on this, that there's a little site plan drawing in here which says that the existing detention facility is to remain. All right, in 2011, when I started on this, I had a meeting with Mr. Fisher in his office and Sharon Fleming with the THC, who is the architect there, and is now the head architect. Is that correct, Maureen? She's now the...
Yes.
she's been a...
What's her name?
Position.
Sharon Fleming.
Sharon Fleming. And well, I was told at that time, I said, will we be able to tear the jail down? They said, oh yeah, it's not 50 years old. I said, yes it is too. It's built in 1951. Oh, well, we'll let you tear it down. I said, well, we need that in writing. I didn't request it in writing. And in conversation since then, I asked about it in one discussion with them, and I says, they want to know, well, what are you going to do with that property there where the jail is? I said, there's a lot of nice oak trees there. We'll make a little sitting area, a little park area. And they said, oh, that sounds good. I said, well, we still need that in writing, but I did not request it in writing. So I'm going to insist that before we sign this new easement, that we get permission to tear that jail down. We don't want to have to renovate that jail back to its original condition. So that would be my main concern with this whole deal.
Jeff, do you have any comment about this? This may catch you
Yeah,
by surprise, I understand.
I don't know anything about that. I mean, I'm glad to assist the county in negotiating that if that's the case. I'm happy to get involved in any discussions about that. I don't know that this site plan that I'm looking at, which is part of the exhibit, shows the existing detention facility. It says to remain. It's not the same building, of course, as the courthouse. It doesn't appear to have any connection. It's not an adjacent structure.
But this easement includes this whole area here.
Right,
And
so
we have to get permission for whatever we do in this whole
right. So we need to we can clarify that if that's the concern.
Yes, that needs to be clarified.
The easement, as I read it, was for the courthouse itself. Not for other structures located on the property where the courthouse sits. But if there's a different interpretation that the commission could argue for, we should clarify that if that's a concern of the court.
Do you have something to say?
Just that.
No, not you.
Sorry.
Not your.
I did. I think that Pete and James are probably aware of it. You and David are not, but when Sharon Fleming sold this deal and we signed the easement, she sold it under the precept that we were going to get a $4 or $5 million grant, and she actually basically guaranteed it, and that never happened. I think there's a little more in-depth research that you guys need to do before you sign this easement. But what we basically did is we signed the easement in order to get the $4 or $5 million grant. And James, you probably remember this because you were here. You've been here as long as I have. And that didn't happen. And something that Pete said, that they're not guaranteeing the funding anymore, is critical, and I think you should think about that. Because we're going to end up restoring the courthouse, and I've been saying that for 6 years. We'll end up putting the bill, which is fine, I mean, if everybody agrees to that. But we need to know what we're signing. We're giving them the permission to do whatever they want with it while we pay for it. We need to be careful with that.
It would be my offhand observation that if we've been doing this 6 years, we probably have bound ourselves to do whatever it takes to complete this. You know, I don't know what anybody says, don't really care a whole lot at this point. I think we're going to be bound to go forward with this thing, and I think we're going to be bound to do it probably the way that the historical or hysterical society wants us to, whatever it may be on a particular day. And I think we're probably bound to do that whether we want to or not at this point.
Well, I think that's what Mr. Chapman can answer for us. And when these documents appear and we're changing them or signing them or altering them, that's a negotiation step where we can negotiate the county into a better position, possibly.
Well, I'm not sure what's been signed or done
Right.
or whatever, and I would ask him to try to find out. I've got the grant of easements up here that I haven't signed and will not sign until I'm satisfied that the way we're doing it is what we're supposed to be doing, and exactly what it's going to bind us to do from now on. I think we've got to know that.
But
I feel like
I do recall.
I've got a suspicion that we're bound to go forward with it and do whatever
Possibly,
they tell us to do.
but I do recall Pete in the jail issue and Sharon Fleming did saying that it wasn't part of it, and it could be because of the age of it.
But it may be,
Well,
if you guys.
yeah, let me
comment.
just say that this may be fairly simple to resolve as far as the detention facility and the jail that's there. The easement is for the entire property, but it does say here, as far as the scope of the grantee's interest in Section 2, that without prior written consent of the grantee, which is the commission, which shall not be unreasonably withheld, the grantor cannot cause any construction, alteration, or destruction of anything on the property. If the commission has already represented to us that they will allow for the destruction and removal of the jail, it could be as simple as getting a written statement from them authorizing us to do that, and still, without modification of this agreement, signing this agreement once we have that in place. Because it does say they can't unreasonably withhold that consent, and if it's not a historic structure and they've already consented to allowing us to do that, it should be a relatively simple process of contacting them and getting a letter from the commission granting the county that authority.
Who knows when the jail was constructed? Does anybody?
He said 1951.
Just my recollection is 1950.
There's a cornerstone on it that's got a date on it, I think,
Yeah.
that should say. I just haven't gone over and looked at it. I apologize. I could have. But we need to look at that and see what date we're really talking about and make sure we all understand.
Don't anybody tell them, but that was the first air-conditioned jail in the state of Texas.
All you have to do is raise the window.
A question for either the architect or Pete. When we finish this particular phase that we're discussing this morning, how far are we along in the project of total restoration? Are we halfway there, a third? Where are we at?
You want dollar-wise or time or what?
Well, no,
Well, both.
yeah.
Okay.
and get the architect in on this conversation.
Okay, dollar-wise, it was estimated at about 7.5 million to start with. Okay, we've spent, we will be up to about 2.5 million after this in dollars. Okay,
County board or historical commission board, or everybody.
Historical commission would be about $2 million from the historical commission after we finish this. It'd be between 1.5 and 2 million, I don't know exactly.
And what about the county funds? Do we match?
400,000, 418,000, and then 450,000, that's 9, plus our architectural fees and so forth. So it's between 1.5 and 2 million, whatever that is. That sound right?
Yes, I have that the county on phase 1A, the county's contribution was 1.4 million, and they received 523,000 from THC. On phase
What are you talking from what instrument that says those numbers?
These are the documents that I, when I do a budget recap on the project, these are the documents that I pass out to the court. So,
When did you pass them?
the last time I was on the agenda for something, so it would have been sometime last year. We can do a time where I can get on the agenda and do an overview for everybody for what's been spent to date when we present the roof project, and I can bring the charts for all the 2 phases that have been completed, as well as the 3rd phase at that time.
We have a regular scheduled meeting next Tuesday, I think. Is our regular meeting, that's right. Is there any problem with getting that information, whatever you got?
That would be fine. I can bring that on that regular scheduled meeting and give you an overview. It breaks down where all of the money was spent, whether it was for geotechnical engineering or testing laboratory. Every penny that was spent on the project is charted and allocated. There's a column for the budget, as well as a column for what was actually spent to date, and then a column for the THC funds that were granted. So it might be better if I give you that overview when we have all of those documents where everybody can look at them.
Okay. Whoever needs to get all of that together needs to get it together for the meeting, the regular meeting next Tuesday. Jeff, will you prepare an agenda item that will cover this? And we'll try to go from there rather than from here. I guess we're going from here to there.
Is there a timeline that we need to get this thing done by or completed, the project, I mean?
My understanding was that when you were granted this grant, which was in the middle of last year, the funding agreement and the easement, those were sent directly from THC to the judge's office. It was supposed to be executed back then. So my understanding is technically THC could say, you haven't executed the required documents, and they could decide not to give you the money. Will they do that? I don't think so. But yes, I believe that they have been waiting on Karnes County to do what needs to be done in order to complete the giving you the money for the grant that they've already awarded you. So I believe time is of the essence. And then we have also bid the project, and we have a best value contractor that is ready to negotiate their contract.
Again, taking a step backward, when we finish this phase 3 that we're looking at today and next week, will we be half finished, restored, third, quarter? Where are we at?
You will be, my estimation is about 25%. You will have your roof, and you have your foundation, and you have your west wall exterior. You have 3 exterior walls that need to be done and all of your interior that needs to be done. You essentially have a gutted building right now. So 25% is probably liberal. You have your foundation, your roof, and 1 exterior wall.
Has anything been done on the roof?
The west side was restored with the west wall. The west side of the
Being
roof.
the black part of the roof, the dark part?
Yes, sir. The slate, the dark
Well, the rest of it's red slated.
red tile, red clay
It's
tile.
Okay, and the black part will be a final roof in that
Yes.
area?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I believe, I want to say it was the Commissioner's Court, prior to you being appointed for the remainder of the year, and Judge Butler, Mr. Fisher appeared here at the Commissioner's Court. He was tasked by the Commissioner's Court to come up with a total cost of restoration of the courthouse, and a timeline for the reconstruction and restoration of the courthouse. And that's where it is.
That's the court, y'all remember that?
I have the document right here that Mr. Fisher presented to us.
And did we approve it, or
We approved.
somebody?
We
Actually,
approved.
put the court?
It was court action. Probably about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. I'm not for sure the date. But I know that it was, Mr. Fisher appeared before us, and I think there's $250,400 to the maximum fees and reimbursable fees that he provided to us it was to prepare the construction documents from March 1st, 2015 to July 31st, 2015, guaranteed maximum fee of $115,900. And it says Fisher Hick will provide our services on an hourly rate basis and reviews with the historical commission and include above fees as needed through the term of this agreement. Number 4 was preparation of construction cost estimate would be $12,500. Fisher Hick will provide services again on an hourly rate basis. Preparation of the grant application was $15,000. And then reimbursable allowances was a $46,900. And remember you came to court and we did that. You can have this for your copy if you like.
I may have a copy, I haven't ever seen one. This is addressed to Judge Butler.
Do what?
That wouldn't be a timeline or a cost of the courthouse.
No, but I'm just saying, but we have yet to receive it. You're right, but we do have something with Fisher Hick to do.
We hired him on Lorraine Daly's recommendation. So maybe the question should go to Lorraine. Have you talked to Mr. Fisher? Can he get us a cost estimate?
Yeah, I don't remember recommending him, but my understanding was what he did is he stood up and he gave a presentation to provide the Phase 2 construction documents, which, as part of architect services, require him to provide schedules, budgets, and documents throughout the different phases to keep you informed on what the cost is going to be, what the schedule is going to be, and etc. That was the court voted to select him and authorize negotiating of his contract. I've never seen or heard anything after that on what has happened after that.
So that everybody will know, what we have is something dated August 14th of 2014 from Fisher Hick Architects, and it's addressed to Judge Butler. I haven't ever read it, so I don't know what's in it. I can't speak to this. It's signed by Louis Fisher, AIA principal. I'm not sure what he's principal of, but
If I remember correctly, that was just Mr. Fisher's proposal for his services as the architect for the completion of Phase 2.
well, did the Commissioner's Court approve one?
No,
They-
Judge Long, I've got the contract in the works for Fisher Heck. We haven't finished it yet. And
But there's not any completed.
There's no contract that's been signed for the future phases
It was
yet.
approved to do the work.
It was approved to retain him, and then the county contacted me right before the new year and asked me to review the contract they sent over. He had stricken a large part of the standard B101 architectural document or architectural contract. And so I'm revising that, and I intend to bring it to the commissioners and the Fisher Heck for approval in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody on the court have any other questions or comments? Pete? Anything?
One, Dennis is asking about, David's asking about dollars. There's a $6,000 limit to what the state will grant for a courthouse.
6 million.
Is that correct?
6 million?
Not
$6 million limit is what they will, that's what they'll have. Okay, when we get finished, if we do this next project, the roof, we will have spent at least $2.5 million. I mean, we will have gotten about $2.5 million. That's in construction costs and fees that they pay for architects and engineers, they reimburse for. So we'll have gotten over $2.5 million. So we can't get more than, and there may be more than that, but we can't get more than $3.5 million for the final restoration of the courthouse. And that final, if that's 75%, it's going to cost us about, it'll be between $7,000 and $8,000 to complete that.
7, 8 million.
7, 8 million, pardon me, million. So we will still have to spend over $4 million probably to complete the courthouse after this phase of our money, besides grant money, if we get grant money.
Jeff, do you understand that you're representing the court in Karnes County in this matter?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would comment or say at this point to the court?
No, we can address the jail issue with the commission before you sign the easement. As far as the work for the courthouse in the future phases, we're going to proceed with that in due course once we have the agreement with Fisher Heck in place based on the memo that was approved at the meeting that Shelby just read. We will proceed with them to apply for additional grants, is my understanding. And then as that's approved, we will go through the process of bidding and hiring contractors and getting those documents in place to get that work done. At each phase, the court will hear the budget and the projections and the costs and have a chance to review and approve each of those expenditures as they arise. But as far as today's agenda item in the workshop, this easement is really only for the rest of the roof, and then future easements or future funding agreements will, I presume, be applied for that we would deal with at that time.
Sir, I have a question. Let's just say that Mr. Heck or Mr. Fisher comes in and says the courthouse is going to cost, based on today's dollars, $8 million total, including what we've already spent. If we appropriate, let's say if we, the county commissioners court, appropriates whatever money it takes to meet that goal, and work starts, so there's continuous work to get it done, and we submit to the historical commission for reimbursement instead of waiting for these, phases.
Or at the last meeting I was in Austin with the historical commission, we were informed that in the next phase, they will not fund a partial phase. This is an emergency grant for this roof. The foundation was an emergency grant. They will not fund any more partials. Our next application has to be for complete restoration, and we cannot spend any money before the grant is given to us. So we can't spend money first and apply for it afterwards. We cannot do that.
We can spend the money, we just can't apply for
We can't
reimbursement
apply
for those
We
funds.
can't apply for reimbursement. We can spend it if we're going to take it out of our pocket. But we cannot be reimbursed.
Jeff, is that what you understand? Or
Yes. That's the thing I did not know was that we're gonna have one more phase, which will be the rest of the courthouse.
They did tell us that your next thing has to be for completion. You can't do a portion. And I asked them, next year, can we do the windows? You know, all outside and do all the windows outside, and then they said, no, you can't, you're gonna have to do complete in your next application.
Do we have a plan, Pete, to complete the job at this point? I mean, do we have a plan to do that?
Well,
That's been passed by this court?
to completion,
Yeah.
no, the court is not approved. We have a plan. Mr. Fisher had an original plan that was for complete,
Okay.
but he has to redo that for us now. He's going to redo it.
Jeff, is that what your understanding is?
It's my understanding of the contract I'm working on with Fisher Heck is for the final phase completion of the rest of the courthouse.
Does that include the clock and the whole thing on the roof?
Let me just
I
read.
had never heard anybody say anything about the clock.
Well, the project description that they put into this contract, it says very broadly, the project will prepare bid-ready documents to complete the interior and exterior restoration of the courthouse. The project will include new mechanical and electrical systems, including infrastructure for data and telecommunication systems. So if it's on the courthouse or in the courthouse, if not the foundation of the roof or the west side, which has been done, this contract is intended to cover it.
Which would include the clock.
Yes.
My memory serves me right, Pete and Shelby, I think you both were here. Sue Carter would know absolutely for sure. There was a conversation here in this courtroom about the clock. And if my memory serves me right, that was taken off the board because of cost. Does anybody remember that conversation?
No. I remember there was something about the clock not being completed, not being put on.
Not put in phase 1B. That was phase 1B. We left the clock out because of the cost. Just do the roof without the clock in phase 1B. Not the complete job. We'll have to do the clock for the whole thing in the final phase.
But the clock tower is gonna be made of different material because of the roof. The support of the roof doesn't have the support to make it original, so it's gonna be made with lighter material, but it's gonna be there.
Wasn't the support going through the courtroom or something, some type of a pole or a pillar in there or something that held
The
up?
support wasn't built right, I guess, to begin with. That's why they removed it, because it started collapsing the courthouse.
Do we have a plan for doing the rest of it at this point?
That's
Mr.
what
Fisher.
Fisher will be hard.
He prepared them originally, and that's what the contract's being negotiated for.
Okay, and y'all are still working on the renegotiation of it. We don't have any complete contract.
Correct.
Okay.
You should soon. You
Well,
should soon. I mean,
okay.
I intend to have the document done early part of next week, and then I can do one of two things. I can send it to the court to review at the scheduled meeting next week, and we can discuss it, or we can send it to Fisher, have them comment, and then bring a negotiated document ready for signature and approval for the court to review and discuss probably in the next, maybe not Tuesday, but the meeting after.
We could schedule a meeting similar to this, a workshop and then a action
Yes.
meeting following.
Right, and typically what I would do is prepare the document, coordinate with the county attorney, make sure that the county attorney, make sure Herb and I are on the same page with the terms of the document, send it to the architect, have them make any proposed comments, and then bring the completed document to the court with any kind of question and explanation and discussion about it for either modification or approval and signature. That's always been my practice as far as efficiency, and we can get that done in the next, depending on Fisher's time for response, the next 2 to 4 weeks, I would imagine.
Okay. Well, I think we have a responsibility to complete the job. And the responsibility includes doing it as quickly as we can at this point, and probably as expensive as we can, which is, it's like spitting in the wind. But I still think that's what, and I'll make a comment. I voted against that when we had the election, but I'm for getting the job done where we've been told to in the election we had, and I want to get it done and get through with it. This is just stupid to go on and on and on, in my humble estimation. I practiced law here 50 years. I had some small experience, and we need to get this done and quit throwing money away, which is, in my estimation, what we've done fairly successfully so far. But I may be critical. I don't know if that's all right. You can say whatever you want to say about it. You will never get a chance to throw me out of office in another election, I'll say that. But I'll also say I'm going to do everything I can to get the things that people have authorized us to do completed, and to quit all this dilly-dallying around, because if you don't understand now that it's cost us a great deal, take another look and think about what's been said, and I assure you it has. And we need to move forward with this. I think that's only me speaking, and I don't speak for but one vote on this Commissioner's Court. But hopefully everybody will speak with a voice that indicates that we need to do what the people have told us to do. So with that said, anything else, Jeff, that you think we need to do at this point?
No. I think we're good. I mean,
you're going to complete the...
Well, I'll take care of the stuff for the next phase, but with respect to this agenda item, I think that what we need to do before we take action would be to talk to the commission and get them to approve the demolition of the existing detention facility and
the jail.
The jail, right. And other than that, I haven't heard anything else that is an open end, if you will.
And we don't have that on the agenda.
No, we'd have to bring this
we'll
back.
set it on the agenda for next week.
Well,
we can.
Yeah, we don't need to take any. If you don't want to take any action today on the easement, which is what I'm hearing, is that we need to get this issue with the historical commission resolved as far as the jail. Once that's resolved and the commissioner's court is comfortable with it, then come back and have an agenda item seeking action to approve the easement of the funding agreement.
Well, I think you're right that we've got to get it straightened out with the historical commission, and that's not the local group that's in Austin you're talking about, of course.
Right.
And make sure that we can get rid of the jail.
Right.
Before making lots of plans and something we can't really even talk about, much less do. Okay.
Out of curiosity, did anybody ever put any numbers to the demolition of the jail? Because I know it's got to be full of asbestos.
We put something in the budget, and I think we finally determined it to be $60,000. I don't remember what it was.
Just for the asbestos removal, or they're knocking the whole jail and hauling it off?
Remove it. Demolish it and remove it.
60,000.
It sounds cheap to me, but
Oh, that was the number we used, or?
I think that's what we
put in the budget, you think it was 60.
We put some number in there, and I believe that's what.
Well, if somebody can find it, would they point it out to me? I'd like to see it. Not now, but so I'll know what's going on, what we've got to deal with.
Bother the lady architect one last time, and this is the quantum leap. I agree with Judge Long that whether you agreed or disagreed as far as restoration, we bought into the program, and we may as well bite the bullet and get finished with it rather than continue to drag out the pain. But once the pain is over with and it's completed, what can we expect for a service life before major repairs might have to start? And I ask this because I've noticed some of the earlier restored courthouses, one being Caldwell County, has already had to go back over theirs, at least exterior.
I believe that Mr. Fisher would be able to better answer that question. A good example would be looking at your west side prior to the foundation repairs being done. You have some cracks. With the foundation repairs being done, you're restored from the bottom up. You've got a new roof, you have a new foundation. We monitored that foundation for an entire year to check the survey. Every month they did the survey and your foundation has stabilized. So barring some unknown conditions with that foundation being stabilized, you should have the same life expectancy of a completely restored, building. Yes, sir. I mean, it's almost been gutted and redone. Any walls that during the foundation repairs, any columns that started to give way or walls that gave way, we went back in and shored up and reinforced with concrete columns and concrete beams. So with that foundation being restored, you should have a very long life. I don't know about Caldwell County if they
Well,
skipped the
I don't either.
foundation
I just
phase.
noticed
Yes,
it
sir.
may have been a painting project for all I know. I just saw the scaffolding. But nevertheless, we could expect that 20 years without having to do any, major repairs, that would certainly be a plus.
And I would ask that question to Mr. Fisher because he's doing the documents and he's providing your full restoration. I was involved as your owner's representative for the west side and for the foundation. From what I saw, your foundation is restored and that's your main stabilizing factor structurally. The rest of it is going to be cosmetic. Your slate is a 150-year roof and your copper is, 100 years, so it should be good.
I will make one comment on the Wharton courthouse. And they said that within 4 years, they restored it, put wood windows in it. Sash, and they had to re-putting windows in 4 years. It's going to be maintenance. It's not going to be cost free once it's done. Have to maintain it.
Sir, I would ask to reiterate, he said maintenance is going to be a problem. When we first started coming to Commissioner's Court about 8 years ago in the old courthouse, or in the courthouse, maintenance, if my memory serves me right, Luana was the auditor at the time. At one point in time, I think they only had budgeted as little as $1,000. Is that correct? About $1,000 for maintenance for the courthouse.
Well, it wasn't specific to that courthouse, it was for
Everything.
the jail, the courthouse, 200 East Calvert.
And the Commissioner's Court's going to have a new budget year coming up pretty quick. And this is the time to start scheduling maintenance money for the new court.
You're making a speech about something that's going to be going on for the next 10,000 years if we're here that long.
Well, my point is that in previous Commissioners' Courts, they virtually allocated no money for maintenance.
Well, we can't go back and redo that, so it doesn't help to go back and worry about it. It doesn't seem to me.
I'm not suggesting that.
We understand that there's problems of maintenance that we need to tend to, or I do, and I believe this court does. And that's where we're headed, I hope. If we're not, we're stupid, and I don't believe there are any stupid people on this Commissioner's Court. So I think that we tend to that. And if we don't, I hope that y'all will work hard and vote against us and get us out of here and get somebody that will do it. I can assure you from my part of it that we're going to tend to it, and I believe every commissioner feels the same way. I don't believe we need to keep having these discussions about that. I think we all understand what our duty is here. We've recently had elections. I'm new on the court. My cohort down here is new on the court. I think we understand what that means. I think all court members understand. If they don't, I would say that the people that are interested enough to come to these meetings, talk to your commissioner, or talk to me, or talk to any of the commissioners before the day of this court meeting. Come in a week before and talk to them about what you think he's doing and they're not doing, and what we need to look at. I don't see much of that happening, and I don't think it's a good idea to wait until a meeting date and have these discussions over and over. They've been going, I've lived here 53 years now, since 54 ago. And that's been going on ever since I've lived here, and I don't want it to go on the same way anymore. I intend for it to do different and better. I can't guarantee it, but since I only have one vote, if maybe I could get the right to vote for the other four, I could guarantee it, but I can't at this point. But nonetheless, I'm being silly about it, but that's the way I feel, that we're going to take care of our business the way we need to for the benefit of this county. And I believe every commissioner, and I know I do, is going to do that. So with that said, you're going on with what you're doing, Jeff, and the contract, and you've heard the discussions, and if you feel like, I don't know whether I don't even know what kind of contract you have with the county, if any. We need to talk about that and do whatever we need to do to assure you that we will keep working on the whole project that we're working on, which is primarily the courthouse at this point. That's not all that's going on, but we've got other problems. We've got garbage disposal problems, and anybody on the court that doesn't know that hasn't paid attention. I've been out and looked at it. I haven't talked to the state people yet, but we're going to have a problem, and we're going to get shut out on our disposal yard if we don't get something done about it. And that's been the situation for a good while, and nothing's been done, but that's just another problem that exists. We have to tend to. And with that said, is there any more discussion, or does any of the court have anything else to say about where we're going with our courthouse restoration and that part of this thing? That's mostly what we've talked about.
Yeah. I know I heard all the discussions and everything. Okay, with this easement here, I know you're saying it's forever, right? This commissioner's court, we signed this. That means we finished this project and it's forever, right? So we have to fix this according to THC forever. That's every commissioner's court is going to have to fall into this. And anytime that anything has to be redone to this courthouse, when we're all gone here, the next commissioner's court for the next hundreds of years are going to have to keep dumping money into this courthouse, right?
Well,
I
think the way the easement works, is you're agreeing as the county to maintain the historical uniqueness and preservation of the courthouse.
Yes, I understand.
It doesn't mean that you have to constantly, or you're binding future courts to go to the historical commission and do anything. It's just, if you want to change the courthouse, you can't.
Right, I understand that 100%. That's why I said we're gonna redo the courthouse, right?
Yes.
But we're gonna have to keep the courthouse exactly the way it is.
You'll have to maintain it.
We can't open up a door bigger, we can't add on a door, we can't add on a window, we can't add on steps, we can't do anything like that.
I think in order to make modifications under the easement, you have to get the approval of the historical commission.
Right. And like Scott said right there, they're not, and then Pete read out, they're not guaranteeing that they're gonna match us in the future on anything, right?
Correct. There's no guarantee that you're granting them this easement and you're saying this funding agreement will lead to future funding agreements. I think there is an understanding that the historical commission will give a grant I guarantee there's an understanding that you'll get one more grant to complete the rest of the project.
Right, I understand.
But as far as
After that.
As far as
it's up
after
to us.
that, it's up to the county to maintain the courthouse and to insure the courthouse and to keep it in the state that it's being restored to
Right.
forever.
And that may or may not be with assistance from the state or any other governmental agency.
Correct. Now, there are provisions in the easement which say after a certain expiration of time, your obligation to maintain it exactly as it stands today decreases. But it does mean you can't modify it, you can't change the appearance, you can't renovate it or repurpose it forever without the approval of the commission.
Okay, that's my only one problem there. Well, of course, back in, I think, 2001, and I almost got killed for it, I told them tear it down and build a new one, jump into the next century, right? I'm construction, I own a construction company, I build new and I remodel, and I know the cost of remodeling sometimes is higher than building new, and it doesn't last as long. And with the techniques that we have nowadays, I think we could have built a really, really, really good courthouse. Not that I'm saying that this one's going to be beautiful, it's going to be historic and everything, I agree with that. The only thing is the cost of remodeling a building that size is going to be very costly on keeping up the maintenance of it. What I don't want to do is myself, speaking for myself in this commissioner's court in 2014, tie it up till 3014 that they're going to keep pumping money into a courthouse that's probably, I want to have.
I don't think that the easement requires that. The easement doesn't require you to use that courthouse for 1,000 years, or to continually over the next,
Okay, so
100
that you're
decades.
saying, so we can tear it down and.
No, you can't tear it down,
Right,
but
that's
you can
what-
build new.
That's what I'm trying to get to right there.
Right.
I wanna-
You could build new. You could stop using it.
But we have to
Maintain
condemn
it
We have
as
to
a
condemn
building.
that part that's been historically the courthouse here in Karnes City. We'd have to wrap it around with yellow tape and just leave it there.
Well,
Basically.
Oasis County is a perfect example of that. You go down to Corpus Christi, and they got the old courthouse fenced off with barbed wire.
That's what I don't want.
Because the cost exceeded the practicality of it, and they went across the street and built a brand new one.
That's what.
And it's still sitting there today with the windows blown out of it.
That's what I don't want to happen here. I want, and it's probably, maybe it's impossible or not, but, I didn't, to begin with, like we said, it doesn't matter who voted for or who didn't, right? But now we're in this, the people spoke, they wanted to do this. I didn't, I really didn't want to preserve it, not for any reason or anything, and I know I might lose some votes on that next time, but we're in it, and I'm 100% behind it. I have been ever since the people spoke. I've got no problem. The only thing I don't want to do is I don't want to tie up the next commissioner's court. I don't think we have the right to tie it up for the next 100 years for the next commissioner's court. Maybe the next commissioner's court comes in here and say, let's tear it down. We got the money. Let's tear it down. Let's jump into the next century. We want to build a new one or something like that. Is there any easement we could set for 50 years, 100 years to where it shuts off a THC and then we can renew that?
Well, I think,
Forever?
this application has already been submitted, and it states it's a perpetual easement. I don't think that this easement requires the county, or doesn't prevent the county, certainly from building a new courthouse in the future to serve the needs of the county. It does require that you not remodel or renovate that one in a way that it destroys its historical status and
Well, that's what I mean, Jeff. Originally, that's the county seat. The original county seat was in Helen, then was moved over here. But this has been the original county seat over 100 years. Okay, if we're ever going to build a new courthouse, I'm not saying that we're going to, but if we're ever, I personally would like it there in that spot because that's where historically it's always been, and that's the high spot in this county seat.
it can't be in that spot.
Right.
It can be next door. It can be right here.
See,
It
that's
can't be
the
in that
problem. Like
spot.
Scott said, I don't want to end up, like a courthouse with just tape wrapped around there, but because next commissioner's court doesn't want to do it or wants to build a new courthouse. So basically, that one's going to be
That one will be
Shut
there
down.
forever. That
Shut
one will be
down.
there forever and without destruction, unless the commission approves it. You can always petition for some sort of change or alteration or demolition with the commission. They likely won't approve demolition. They might approve a modification or a change to update it for whatever purposes you might need. But that spot, it's my understanding from this easement, and probably the other easement that was granted, that spot is protected as an historical site, and it stays that courthouse. If you wanted to build a new courthouse, you can do so. You can't build it at the same location. And you don't have to continually use and maintain that building as far as keeping it, the air conditioner running or whatnot, but you can't destroy it. And if you wanted to fence it off and make it a museum or whatnot, but not an active courthouse, you could do that. So it's not gonna, I think your concerns, or at least my understanding of what you're saying is, your concerns that becomes a money trap that's gonna become more and more expensive to maintain and operate.
Yeah.
That concern can go away because you don't have to always use that courthouse. You just have to keep it in the condition it will be in when the project is done.
It can be converted into a museum 50, 60 years from now, we go to new courthouse.
From what I read, there's no dictation from the commission as far as its use. It can be used, not used, it can simply be a centerpiece for the county if you want to build a new modern courthouse later on in a different location.
But we're tied in forever as of now with that space, that land right there with that building.
Yes.
But
That's the intent of the easement.
that does not negate the need for the county to maintain it, does it?
No, the county has to maintain it. I believe the initial term is 20 years in the exact condition that it will be in when the work is done. Then after that, I think that the maintenance obligation can be modified or limited. And so that if in 20 years you don't want to use that courthouse as a courthouse, you would no longer need to maintain it up to code or whatever you might need to be doing as far as keeping it intact. It just has to be preserved.
Maybe that's the out that James is looking for, where it doesn't become a money pit as it grows older and older and older.
Right.
Because the older we get, the more money it takes to maintain us.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I
It's a
have
big
one
difference when you're 20, 40, 60, it takes more money.
I have one question. I thought that I saw a clause in here somewhere that said that the only way you could revoke this easement was to pay back everything that THC had paid you, and you had to have their permission to do it. In other words, it was damaged real bad. Do you remember anything like that? I've come through and I didn't find it right.
No, I'm not going to read that, but I can look quickly.
Termination clause.
What do you mean that we can get out of it?
An escape clause.
That's basically, I guess,
You have to pay back all the
what I'm
money.
looking for. It's not what I'm looking for, but not us here, but next commissioner's court may not want that. They may not want what we want. And I hate to
even
tie
too,
in
with the
county
current-
100 years.
With the current easement as it is now, and us having to maintain the building in the condition it is, we will have maintenance costs.
Yes.
Whether the building is a museum, whether it's vacated or anything else, we have to maintain it as it is at the completion of the last funding that we received.
For 20 years solid. And then after that, we can join the down on it, basically what he said.
It's like Mr. Yarder said.
We signed up
Before
perpetuity.
we each put $1,000 for everything, and a lot of stuff got neglected, just when you better planning and stuff to maintain what we have.
Well, I don't believe they had the money back from Joe.
Well, I understand, but still.
We're in a different situation today.
Yeah, but still, we're gonna have to, it's just gonna be something that you're gonna have to, like this building, you have to constantly maintain this building. Maybe one day after we're all gone, 100, 200 years from now, this thing will be a historical site too, who knows?
I doubt it. I think so.
For the record.
I think that's in the funding agreement. It's not
The
in,
funding agreement
it's in
has
the funding agreement, not in there.
Right. The
Okay.
funding agreement has a termination clause, so you can terminate the funding agreement before the project is complete. It does not allow for termination afterwards because you would have presumably received all your funds. But if you terminate the funding agreement before the project is complete, you do have to reimburse the commission for any money they have already reimbursed you or paid you. The easement does not have that clause in it. Well, once you grant an easement, it runs with the land into perpetuity. And so as long as that land is there and intact and the county exists, that easement exists.
Any other questions, comments? I'd have to say, I don't believe we can, for instance, quit on the courthouse, on the restoration, in light of the election that we had to require us to do the restoration to the courthouse. And I think you need to think carefully about that if you have any thoughts about it. I don't believe you can do that. And I may not know what I'm talking about, but we'll see. down the way, and I think we need to go forward with what the people have told us they want done, and do it, and then maintain it once we've done it. I don't think you can do what needs to be done, and then sit back and say, well, we've done that, we're not gonna maintain it now. That's just pure hogwash. So, if you've got any thoughts about it, you better be thinking them serious and quick. I think we're gonna have to proceed with where we're headed, which is restoration of the courthouse. Any other comments? Don't quit. I said, don't quit. Let's get everything said that you want to say, because
That was a $4 million bond, am I correct, Luana?
Yes. That has been sold.
That was passed for exactly what?
4 million.
I know,
For
but
courthouse
what to
restoration.
do?
For the rest-
Courthouse
Have
restoration.
have we spent the money?
We have not sold any of the bonds. We have spent money on courthouse restoration, but we have not sold any of the bonds.
Why haven't we sold the bonds and
Because
used that money?
we have been in a situation of financial plush,
So we just spend our own money and let that sit, and it'll be there.
correct, and that way we are not incurring interest on borrowed money.
But it doesn't mean that we're not required to do what?
We do not have to sell the bonds just because they're
Yeah,
available.
I understand
Right.
that.
But we've got them as a backup in case the funding is
If
needed.
we needed more money.
Well, I think the reason I brought that up was because that was a $4 million bond, and it's gonna end up costing twice that much. So when you refer to the people, they voted for $4 million, and we're gonna end up spending probably 8 or 10. So just so everybody knows. It's gonna
Well,
cost
but
twice as much,
they-
and that's fine.
Yeah, they authorized the $4 million, because that possibly might have paid for what they were gonna do.
Well, they authorized $4 million because they thought the historical commission was gonna pay the other $4 or $5 million.
And
We're
now
gonna
they're
grant
not.
form and we didn't get it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end up absorbing most of the cost, which is fine as long as everybody knows that.
Well, if everybody doesn't know it, they haven't been paying attention at this point. Everybody in here knows it, we know, and the newspapers here, and I have confidence that they will put the information out, and anybody that reads the paper will know, but that's not everybody. And the rest of them will just be able to bitch and fuss, if you'll excuse my bad language, and have not been part of it. And we're going to go forward with what we're supposed to do, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I can't make the 4 commissioners do the same thing. I would hope they understand their jobs, and at this point that we go forward and do what we're supposed to do, and what the people have told us they want. Any more comments from anybody?
Just to be straight out clear with everyone, I'm 100% for the restoration because that's what the people wanted. And I understand we're gonna have to maintain it afterwards exactly how it's restored. As long as I'm here, I'm gonna be for it. I have no problem with that or anything. I didn't want to tie up future commissioners' court into something they may not want. But as of now, I am for it. I do understand what we did. I understand what we got looking forward to. My concern was not tying up the future commissioners' court.
James, I think the election we had has the effect of tying up future commissioners' court, whether they want to be or not. And I think we've got to do what's in our ability to do to follow what the people that voted told us to do. And I don't think we can sit back and say, well, we're not going to do that, because we don't have to.
No, I understand.
I think we do.
I understand that, Judge, but a lot of the voters, I'm sure a lot of the voters don't understand that it ties you up forever. They probably want the courthouse restored and everything, but you can go out there and you can ask these voters, because like the judge said here, the people in here, we do understand what's going on and everything, but you can go out there and ask probably half of the voters that voted, and they probably don't know that it ties you up forever. And half of them might, but a lot of them, like the judge said, aren't here, don't quite understand exactly how everything goes. A lot of people want to see it restored. I think it's a beautiful courthouse. I'm going to love it when it's restored, but it may not. A lot of times you vote for a lot of different things, and you don't exactly know what you vote for. I've been through this so many years, and a lot of people tell me after they vote, they go, James, it didn't say that when we voted. I tell them we can't explain every little detail in there. They just sum it up, but there's words there that could probably explain better when they vote.
And a lot of people came to me when after they vote, they go, James, we didn't know that. Like the union system is one. When they voted for the union system, it had just for better roads or something. They said, we had no idea it was gonna be like this. So there's just one thing that I'm saying right there.
James, you didn't get to conceive the baby, but you got to raise it.
That's exactly right. Any other comments from any of the commission? Audience? Architect? You wouldn't want to jump in and you're not going to say a word unless you have to.
I've spoken everything that I know about your induction, so.
Right. And Jeff, anything else you have?
No, I'm good.
Herb?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
Here.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn this meeting, and we will go into the special call meeting for the action part of this, following this, if it passes. All in favor of the motion to adjourn the workshop, signify by raising the right hand. All voting for, same sign. All voting against, the same sign, I'm sorry. And all voted for, so the meeting's adjourned. We'll give you a few minutes to stretch and get you a drink of water and do whatever else, and we'll start the action part of this meeting. We'll call it to order in just a minute. So, convene the special call meeting, and which I'm doing. I'm not going to require us to say the Pledge of Allegiance or the opening prayer again. I think we can say that perhaps what we did in the first one may or may not suffice, but we're not going to do anything else so you can get mad and you won't have anything to be mad about. There are two agenda items. I'll call the meeting to order. There are two agenda items that are on the docket for this meeting, and we're not ready to hear anything on either agenda item. And if there's anybody here that hadn't seen the agenda items, get you a copy of the posted agenda, and you can look and see what they were, but they are not anything we need to discuss at this point, and we will put them back on the agenda possibly for next week, possibly for another meeting later in next week, possibly for another meeting the following week. We're going to meet regularly and try to tend to problems on a regular basis, and they may be posted anytime. And so if you're interested in when we're going to meet, stay in touch with my office or with some of the commissioners, or come up here and look at what may be posted as an agenda item for a meeting. And we're not going to call everybody in the county to let them know, but we will be doing things on a regular basis. And I hope you'll all keep coming and we can have good discussions and understand each other's wishes and wants, and hopefully where we're headed all together. So with that, is there anything else before we adjourn? And if there's not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. I'll second.
Second. Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? No. No opposition. Motion carried unanimously. We'll be here again, I believe, next Tuesday for our regular January meeting. So see everybody then. Thank you for coming.